Countless romantic novels come out each day, filled with themes of wealth and power, charming looks, and leading men who only have eyes for one woman. Yet all those main leads from these novels can't compare to this man, the heir to Korea's #1 company, not just in name, TK Group. One day, he suddenly appeared like a comet, relying on his intellect and exceptional skills to surpass all competitors and secure his position. We see articles about a man named Seop, and then we find the male lead reading a magazine in his apartment. He tosses it aside and angrily wonders why they would write an article about it. He chugs down a glass of beer. As his face flushes, he angrily thinks about why everyone talks about Seop. He reminds himself that he almost got unalived while cleaning up that brat's mess. Anyway, he assumes that nowadays newspapers can't be trusted and that the news is always better, so he turns on the TV. However, all the news stations can talk about is Seop, so he immediately switches the TV off. He gets upset because the world doesn't know the true story. As he cries hot tears, he decides he will knock them all down. This is not a story about a perfect man, but about a man perfectly defeated. This is Seop's story. The first scene opens in an apartment where the female lead is trying on a brand new outfit. She takes off the tag and twirls around, looking gorgeous in her new corporate wear. Her mother and brothers gush over her, and her mother says, "Expensive clothes change everything, because clothes are like an angel's wings." Her brothers call her their cool sister and tell her that she really looks like an adult. In her head, Mingyeong thinks that if she goes to work for 52 weeks, 5 days a week, that's 260 times. Even if she were to wear her new outfit every 3 days, that's 87 times in a year. If she were to wear it every 3 days for 3 years, it would be like spending 1,001 per day. She does a small, happy victory dance with the most serious look on her face and reminds herself that she would have to wear only these clothes for 3 months straight. Her mother asks her what she's thinking again. She believes that her daughter Mingyeong is smart and will do well wherever she goes, but she's still worried because work life is different from school. Sometimes employees are forced to work overtime, and there can be irregularities like bullying in the company. Things happen without reason, such as internal disagreements and so on. So she gives her daughter serious advice. She tells her to engrave 3 things in her heart. 1, Mingyeong must absolutely obey whatever her superior says without complaining. 2, she must say whatever others want to hear rather than what she wants to say. And finally, she must always smile whenever she makes eye contact. 10 years later, our female lead has obeyed her mother's words. She speaks cautiously to her superiors, manages her expressions perfectly, and with her almost superhuman work abilities, she achieves top scores in entrance exams, top scores in training evaluations, top rankings in task completions, and is the most desirable coworker to work with. She ranks first in the company's sports competition, first in the company's Golden Bell quiz, and tops customer satisfaction, excelling in every task and rapidly advancing on the fast track for promotion. Some of her colleagues whisper and gossip that she's an AI developed by the company. She even becomes the youngest assistant manager. Until yesterday. With a smile on her face, Mingyeong receives very shocking news from the managing director, Seop. He tells her that an official announcement will be made soon, and she will be the secretary and assistant to Seop in the trading team. In her head, our female lead thinks to herself that she's already an assistant, and that the managing director wants her to also become a secretary. She recalls all those instances of workplace bullying that her mother had feared. She remembers how she has been working like a loyal dog for a decade and wonders angrily why she has been demoted all of a sudden. Still pasting a fake smile on her face, she asks Taejun if she made any mistakes while working and requests him to tell her so she can correct them herself. However, he replies that there were no mistakes. Rather, it's the opposite. She was so good. He tells her that he understands that this is an unreasonable request, which he also regrets, but he doesn't want to miss out on a talent like hers. After looking through TK's records, it seems that she's the only one who can handle Seop, and she'll receive an interesting proposal about this from Song Baek-jae. The scene shifts to a place with a blue barrier made of pine and nut trees, where even the sunlight shining through seems solemn. This place serves as a symbol of Korea's business community. The mansion of Songbak-jae, located within the estate of TK Group's leader Tae Siwan, is a direct reflection of Chairman Tae Siwan's decision about who will soon become the president of TK Group. Still pasting a smile on her face, our female lead realizes that it's an all-or-nothing situation. It means that either the best opportunity or the biggest crisis of her life has come. The next scene starts in an airport, where we see the male lead rolling his suitcases, carrying luxurious shopping bags, and wearing designer outfits. As he struts confidently along, someone calls out to him from ahead. It's his assistant manager, Kim Ki-chon, shortened to Kim Ki. Kim Ki asks about his flight, and he replies that it was good. Then his assistant manager proceeds to thank him for all his hard work on his business trip. Seop smiles smugly because that business trip was just an excuse. He finally managed to let go of the grudge he had been holding onto due to overworking himself all these years. In his 34 years, he had dedicated his entire life to TK in order to become the owner of Songbak-jae. After suddenly falling victim to Junsob's schemes, he lost all the core business to that man. And what had he been living for all this time? Since it had turned out like this, Junsob could go ahead and enjoy it all on his own, and they would see how well the company runs without him. Presently, he is seated comfortably in the back seat of a luxurious car. He tells Kim Ki that they should go to the Cheongdam-dong apartment. However, his assistant manager replies that there was a message stating he had to go directly to the strategic planning division when he returned. Our male lead asks him if the message was from Junsob. He says he is tired, so they should just go to the office tel. Suddenly, his phone starts ringing in his pocket. He takes it out angrily, wondering who is already calling him when he just got back. It's a call from Junsob. He declines the call and tells his assistant manager that they should take a break. However, Kim Ki's phone starts ringing, and it's still from Junsob. Our male lead tells him to either pick up or decline, so he picks up. The caller introduces herself as Assistant Manager Kang from the Electronics Department, who is our female lead, Mingyeong. Suddenly, Seop remembers that she was a colleague who joined the company around the same time as he did. As Kim Ki continues his conversation in the driver's seat, Seop reflects that he knew she was a strange one, but an assistant manager calling the director directly is something else. Kim Ki turns around and suggests that our male lead should talk to the director about it. The suggestion seems a bit confusing. He accepts the phone from his assistant manager and asks him what is going on. He puts the phone to his ear and asks manager Min Kyung what she wants. She informs him that starting today, she will be his personal secretary and business aide. The news surprises Seop, and he asks why a high-ranking assistant manager like her would become his secretary. He wonders if Junsob put her up to this task. She laughs in that annoying way of hers and says that he can discuss the details with the managing director himself, and she will transfer the phone to him. This infuriates Seop, and he wonders if the managing director has gone crazy. He says it's enough with the jokes and that they shouldn't be too harsh on someone who just returned from a business trip. He then announces that he's going to rest and ends the call. Still with a smile on her face, Min Kyung informs Junsob that our male lead hung up. However, he smiles back, telling her to proceed without any changes to the schedule. The next day, in a beautiful high-rise building, we see Seop, scantily dressed and comfortably lying on a bed. He tosses to one side and breathes a deep sigh of relief, saying he can finally catch his breath. However, his phone rings immediately. What an irony. He picks up and asks his assistant manager what the matter is. Kim Ki asks him if he can come in for a moment because he is at the door. He explains that assistant manager Min Kyung wants to come in, of which makes our male lead jolt up in bed, completely turned off by the news. He asks how the woman knows about this place, and the next voice he hears is hers. He asks her why she does things like this. Why would she, who must be busy with company work, come all the way to the door of his office tel? However, she simply replies like a robot, saying she will be assisting him from today. He responds that it can't be, and that she doesn't mean it. In reply, She informs him that the orders came from Songbak Jae. He receives the news with shock, and cold sweat breaks out on his face. Finally, she tells him that she is sorry, but she is running out of time and is coming inside now. He tries to tell her to wait and trips. In a hurry, he falls face down on the floor, and his phone clatters out of his hand. He desperately and unsuccessfully tries to stop her from coming in. He hurriedly picks himself up from the floor, thus pulling up his shorts to his waist. In complete disarray, he begs her to wait a minute, but the door slides open, and she walks in, saying hello. However, the sight of his falling shorts is quite a surprise. After a really awkward 5 seconds, Mingyeong steps out to give Seop a moment. He meets her and Kim Ki outside his room door after he's thrown on a shirt. She doesn't waste time in getting straight to business. She announces that they have 15 minutes left and asks him if he's ready. He looks away and says he's not prepared at all to go out. Obviously, he hasn't even taken a shower, and he's also hungry now and doesn't have any clothes to wear. Mingyeong happily tells him not to worry about that. She fixes her glasses determinedly and calls out to Kim Ki. He hurriedly appears with hangers holding 2 options for office suits. Our female lead explains that the clothes have already been dry cleaned and prepared in advance. Next, Kim Ki appears with a packaged breakfast box. And again, Mingyeong points out that sandwiches have also been prepared for breakfast. This time, our male lead looks up, speechless. Satisfied, she announces that they will proceed while providing detailed schedules and explanations as they move. By this point, Seop is completely worked up. He asks her if she is going to track him down like this, even at home, just because she's his secretary. He says it is his private space and that he lives freely at home too, rolling around and getting undressed, as was seen earlier. He leans forward and asks our female lead if she'll be able to handle it. She stares back at him blankly and asks if he's uncomfortable because she is a woman. He stares at her for a moment, then he bursts into a manic laughter. In between gasps, he tells her he could never be uncomfortable because she's a girl. And her earlier assumption is crazy. Keeping that same smile on her face, Mingyeong tells him she's glad that he seems to view her in a comfortable light. She then proceeds to announce that they have 10 minutes left until departure. In realization, she says it seems like there won't be enough time for a shower. She calls out to Kim Ki again, and he produces a warm towel. She explains that she had expected such a turn of events, so she prepared a wet towel in advance. She pulls on a rubber glove, and Kim Ki produces soap and a bucket of water. She announces that they'll now proceed and beckons our male lead to come closer. Completely horrified, he tells them to get away from him right this instant, and they agree with delighted smiles on their faces. Talk about creepy. After putting away their cleaning, bathing supplies, they stand before him, eagerly awaiting instructions. Seop sighs deeply, then tells them he'll wash up in 5 minutes, and he walks away, leaving them with those annoying smiles on their faces. As he heads into his bathroom, he thinks bitterly about his new secretary with her loose-fitting hair, dull glasses, and 2-piece suit. The same fashion sense for 10 years. It's quite impressive when he thinks about it. Nothing has changed since their first meeting, but he still doesn't like the way she subtly gets on his nerves. Way back when TK Group announced the new trainees of the 53rd batch, and when the outstanding employees were called up, Kang Min-chung was announced as first place and Seop as second. He's been working hard all his life to live up to the name of TK Group's successor. Thankfully, he's been able to meet the expectations of those around him. He'd been called a prodigy since he was young, and it was all the result of his tremendous effort. So, he'd never missed being in the top rank even once. That is what he was used to, until the day Mingyeong took it away from him. Presently, he's drying his hair in front of his mirror after taking a shower when his new secretary appears behind him. He asks her if it's been 5 minutes, and she happily replies that he's correct. He turns around to glare at her. Of all the people, she had to be his secretary. He turns away as he pulls on his shirt and calls out to her. When she answers, he tells her that he dislikes close personal secretaries. In response, she says she'll do her best to please him. However, Seop tells her that he knows she's good at playing dumb, and then tells her that it's not going to work out. He calls out her full name and title and tells her that he doesn't like her. Since the first day at the training center, from the moment they were assigned to the same group, he has hated her. He leans forward and tells her to quit while she's ahead. As usual, Mingyeong has that stupid smile on her face. She animatedly announces that they are exactly 7 minutes over the scheduled time. Once again, our male lead is left dumbfounded. She tells him that the chairman is waiting for him and points him outside alongside Kim Ki. He stands in disbelief for a moment, taking in their smiling faces. Then he sighs in disappointment and pulls on his jacket, leading the way outside. As they walk, Mingyeong recalls Iseop's earlier profession of hate for her, and she scoffs in disbelief. She hasn't liked him either since she first met him. TK's prince, more like a brat-like chaebol heir. As they ride in silence, our male lead looks out the window with a bored expression on his face, and Mingyeong watches him from the rearview mirror. Although she doesn't like him, she can't deny he's her type when it comes to looks. Let's pedal back to a week ago, shall we? Mingyeong goes to see the president of TK Group, Siwon, after her meeting with the managing director. She introduces herself, and he tells her he's heard a lot about her from Jun Seop. He proceeds to compliment her on being a good employee. Straight to business, President Siwon tells her to do her best as Lee Seop's assistant. The confirmation of her new position upsets her, and she cautiously tells him that she still has room for improvement. Out of the blue, he brings up the matter of her siblings being promising athletes in water sports, saying that if they take after her, they must be exceptional talents. He then proceeds to say that TK Group loves supporting talented athletes. Mingyeong's eyes widen as she realizes that this is the offer the managing director told her about. When she leaves the president's office, she feels spent because his eyes closely resembled a tiger's when he had told her to do her best. She afterwards calms herself down to shake off the fear, reminding herself of how well she's done so far. She assumes the twins must have been worried about money without her knowledge. Moments later, when her phone rings, it is the twins calling. They inform her about their sponsorship by TK Group, and she congratulates them on it. In the end, she thinks to herself that as long as they are happy, that's what matters. Currently, sitting in the passenger seat of a speeding car, she rebukes herself not to think of Lee Seop's good looks and to get a hold of herself. She knows she must learn how to handle him somehow for the sake of her family, and with firm determination, she starts her first day as his secretary. When they arrive their destination, our male lead greets his grandfather warmly and recounts old memories. He asks about the old man's health, and President Siwon's face lights up completely as he replies to his grandson. As they converse, Mingyeong is completely surprised by the old man's change. His attitude is drastically different from the last time she saw him. She finds it hard to believe that the man is capable of kindness. She's convinced that Lee Seop is the only one who can make the old man seem so nice. As if sensing her thoughts, President Siwon calls out to her and she straightens in her seat. His facial expression suddenly changes again as he addresses her and asks if she's doing her job properly. Inwardly, she sobs and wonders why he's looking at her so coldly. Outwardly, she responds that it's her first day, so she is a bit lacking. The president points out that she arrived a little late today, and she immediately replies that she'll correct herself. She looks down and clenches her fists to keep them from trembling, and our male lead notices. He wonders what is wrong with her, because she always seems energetic with that constant, annoying smile of hers, yet currently, she seems completely different. President Siwon continues addressing her, saying he has high hopes for her. When she replies that she's honored, he reminds her not to disappoint him. Mingyeong promises to do her best to meet his expectations, and for the first time, Lee Seop notices that our female lead is scared. His grandfather calls his attention, and he looks away from her to respond. President Siwon asks his grandson to pay a visit to Songbak-jae for the time being. Then, turning to Mingyeong, he tells her to show her face and give him a product briefing. She breaks into a cold sweat and answers him. Satisfied, he returns his attention to our male lead. He calls him the core of TK's C&T, and says it is only appropriate that the best production personnel assist his grandson. Seop replies that it's true, and that there's no one like assistant Mingyeong. As an afterthought, he starts telling his grandfather how his new secretary goes in and out of his house and acts like an attendant. Our female lead begins to panic that he might say something condemning and put her in trouble. She silently prays for him to shut up. Out of desperation, she pulls on his sleeve, giving him the signal with a fake smile on her face. He looks at her confusedly and then turns back to continue speaking to his grandfather. When he mentions her name again, she grabs his arm and looks up at him vulnerably, and he seems to get the message this time around. He turns back and tells his grandfather that assistant Mingyeong is a bit too much, and she coughs to interrupt him. Feeling irritated by her constant interruptions, he finally stops talking. President Shiwan seems oblivious and urges his grandson to continue speaking. Finally, Seop smiles at his grandfather and says that all along what he's been trying to say is thank you for assigning assistant Mingyeong as his secretary. Outside, our female lead leans against the wall for support as she releases a huge sigh of relief. She feels exhausted and assumes it's because she puts a lot of brain power into her job. She makes her way toward her residence and thinks about the shower and rest awaiting her inside. When the door slides open, she discovers that there are visitors inside. Ta-da! It's her younger siblings, and she definitely wasn't expecting to see them. They run toward her excitedly, not noting the look of exhaustion on her face. They ask her why she's so late and inform her that they've been waiting. Her roommate, Sia, peeks out of the kitchen, asking if she has eaten anything yet. Our female just stands there stunned and asks them what is going on. Her roommate explains that she decided to prepare a surprise party because she heard good news from the twins. Not to seem awkward, Mingyeong forces a laugh and pretends to be excited as the twins hurry to help Sia out with the cooking. She watches them for a moment with a tired smile on her face before turning to leave. After a well-deserved shower, she comes out feeling alive. Her roommate pops in to check on her and informs her that Oppa will be here soon, so they can all eat together when he arrives. The information surprises our female lead, and she asks if it's Hyunsung Oppa. As she dresses up, the doorbell rings, and Sia announces that the long-awaited visitor has arrived. As she ushers him in, they exchange pleasantries, and Mingyeong walks to join them in the living room. The visitor sees her and calls out to her, and we finally get to his face. The word hot was invented when this man was born because what's with the good looks? Our female lead is happy to see her old friend, Hyunsung Oppa. She asks him why he didn't tell her that he was coming over, and he bursts into laughter instead. He even makes laughing look so beautiful. Leaning forward to ruffle her hair, he tells her that she hasn't changed at all. She looks down for a moment and then brightens up, asking him if he's talking about her shirt. He confirms that indeed he is, and is surprised that she still likes that character. The character on Min Chung's shirt is from a children's TV animation named Veggie Rangers. The more you peel, the more charming they become. However, it's not very popular among kids. As you can see, they are like a family. When they were younger, growing up in the same neighborhood naturally made them closer. When our female lead graduated from high school earlier than her peers and got admitted to the best university in the country at the age of 17, Sia and Hyunsung became her most precious childhood memories. In particular, Hyunsung, who is her senior, became a reliable older brother who provided her with support when she entered university at a young age. Presently, they cheer to all the celebrations they have in one day. Sia teases Mingyeong for not knowing the taste of beer. She tells her that she is missing one of the best pleasures life can provide. Our female lead replies that it's not a big deal if she can't drink alcohol for a day or two. Though on a day like today, it would be nice to have just one glass. Her roommate turns to congratulate the twins for their TK sponsorship and then Hyunsung for being scouted. One of the twins tells him that being scouted by M&P law firm is amazing. Then he asks if he is really back in Korea now. Oppa replies that he is and that he'll be moving back here. He says this time he is assigned to TK's trading team. Then he turns to ask Mingyeong what team she is on. She tells him that she just started working in the trading team today, and Seop adds that it was her first day as a secretary. Oppa is surprised that our female lead is working as a secretary. To lighten the mood, Seop decides to act like a reporter. She uses her spoon to mimic a mic and asks Mingyeong what her thoughts are on working closely with the Tae Seop. Her roommate instantly becomes gloomy. How does she feel? She asks if she even needs to say it. Seop pulls back with a naughty look on her face. She teases our female lead, asking her why she has a sour face. Then she goes full reporter mode. Pretending to read from a card, she describes Tae Seop as the only grandson of TK Group's chairman, Tae Shuan, one of the nation's top conglomerates. With a background as TK's prominent heir since childhood and a doll-like appearance, he grew up capturing the attention of the nation with his distinctive aristocratic image. That intense attention led to excessive intrusion by paparazzi and reporters. Maybe that is the reason why, after becoming an adult, he avoided media exposure and suddenly disappeared from the public eye. As a result, rumors about his good looks are the only thing circulating. Still in reporter mode, Seop turns to our female lead and says, "It's hard to believe that there are no feelings attached to being beside a chaebol heir so handsome that photo cards of him could be traded. Moreover, being his special assistant is like being on an escalator to promotion, right?" Our female lead slumps forward and says promotion is a far reach. She would be lucky not to get fired. This news comes as a surprise, and her roommate asks her what's wrong. Mingyeong explains that the executive director doesn't like her, and everyone at the table shouts in disbelief. She further explains that she joined the company around the same time as him, and they never spoke to each other. It's certain he has hated her ever since he saw her in the training center. However, she admits that they both dislike each other but have to work together because of this unfortunate situation. She defines it as an uncomfortable symbiotic relationship. Oppa says it must be very stressful for her since she has to spend a lot of time by Lee Seop's side when they both don't get along. He assumes that today was probably difficult for her, and she confirms that it's true. But she points out that she gets incentives for her hard work. To help her feel better, Oppa comes around to give her a light massage on her shoulder. He tells her that money is important, but she should remember that her health is also a priority. He adds that she's always working too hard, and that's the problem. Mingyeong says she knows, but she promises to do her best and tells him not to worry. She says he is always so nice to her, and she wouldn't suffer as much if her boss was at least half as nice as him. As if on cue, her phone pings with messages from Lee Seop telling her to organize schedules and materials for their meeting with clients. He also instructs her to be early to work tomorrow. The next morning, Mingyeong is back at that beautiful high-rise building, and she politely greets Lee Seop with a fake smile on her face. He picks up his phone and tells her that she's 30 minutes late. She explains that she arrived earlier, but the entrance password was changed. Just then, he looks away with a knowing smile on his face and pretends to be surprised. He says he really doesn't know why the password was changed. Inwardly, our female lead feels frustrated because she knows that he changed the password himself, and yet he dares to act surprised. Outwardly, she tells him that she has rescheduled the tasks to accommodate the delayed time, ensuring that there won't be any disruptions in the workflow. He yawns as if he's bored and says she should do whatever she needs to do. As he turns to walk away, she tells him that when he's ready, they should start today's schedule briefing. He tells her that he's tired since he just woke up, and she says she figured it might happen, so she brought him some morning coffee. He gives her a look of disgust and tells her that he drinks coffee strictly from Kenya, blended in a certain way to be both rich and heavy, but also light with a special taste. He tells her to get that coffee away from him and to dump it down the drain. She tells him she would do just that and starts speaking again about the briefings. He begins to yawn again, feigning boredom, and says that since the schedule was delayed, he would rest a bit more. She informs him that Jun Seop is waiting for him, and the news is like music to his ears. He says since the meeting is with the managing director, he shouldn't have woken up so early. He concludes that he will not go and tells her to cancel the schedule. When she doesn't respond, he asks her if she won't say anything, and she stretches the fake smile on her face, saying she wants to make a request first. It is her second day as his secretary, but this is the first time in 10 years that her patience is tested. In the next scene, we see Seop fully dressed and seated at an office desk. Min-seok gives him briefings about trading internal organizations, electronic shares, and business reports. She presents the TK fashion division. Acting bored, he asks her if she saved the toughest one for last, TK Fashion. It's the foundation of the current TK group and an ongoing underperforming business, making it the biggest headache for the company right now. After seeing the statistics, Seop sits up angrily. He asks why they keep assigning him these kind of businesses. How do they expect him to improve a business performing so poorly that there are rumors of it being sold? He complains that he has been working his tail off this whole time and that brat Jun Seop takes all the profitable parts and dumps all the trouble on him. As if he doesn't already hate working, now they want him to do something this hard. He seriously says he considers quitting and leans back in his chair. Mingyeong looks at him in disbelief as she realizes that he really doesn't want to work. She wonders what she's supposed to do and how she is supposed to carry forward. In the past, our male lead had been very enthusiastic at the training center. Though he was always mean to Mingyeong, at least she had considered him worthy of his nickname, the Crown Prince. Presently, she looks at him with a disturbed expression as he lounges in his office chair. As if he can sense her thoughts, he tells her that she looks like she's already frustrated, and she asks him why he would say that, hurriedly pasting a smile on her face. She reminds herself that she needs to control her facial expression. Finally, Seop sits up and looks directly at her. He says that there's no need for her to deny it because she seems frustrated, considering she was doing so well before switching to his team. Mingyeong quickly apologizes, saying that she considers it a real honor to work under him. However, he doesn't buy it. He gets up and walks around, then stops in front of her. He points out that her lips are dry, yet she dares to tell such lies. Turning away, he tells her to stop doing that from now on and stretches contentedly. With his back to her, he doesn't see our female lead flush in embarrassment as she holds her lips. Phew. She clutches her other arm around herself and wonders if she will be okay. It is a known fact that a bit of history never hurts anybody, so let's go. 10 years ago, during the TK Group's 53rd annual recruitment training, Mingyeong had been the center of attention as the standout candidate who outperformed everyone else. Before the ceremony, President Siwon had met with Seop and told him that when he goes to the training center, he should take a good look at the woman to determine whether she is pillar support material or just someone with a sharp mind. Though those were his grandfather's words, Seop decided that he couldn't be bothered. In the days that followed, every time he walked past, women would whisper excitedly and make comments about his looks. However, when he turned to look at them, they would turn away and giggle nervously, unable to meet his gaze. He was used to receiving that kind of attention from women, but that didn't mean he enjoyed it. One day, after getting a soda from the vending machine, our male lead decided to take a break, finding comfort in some peace and quiet. After all, managing his image all day could be quite exhausting. Whoever said being beautiful was easy? As he relaxed, he noticed Mingyeong approaching, her full attention focused on the papers in front of her. Just before she passed him, they made eye contact. He was surprised that she actually looked him in the eyes. That day, he felt strangely uneasy and wondered what kind of feeling it was. Presently, we find ourselves in Seop's office, where it appears he has just woken from a nap. He expresses confusion about his unexpected dream. A moment later, Mingyeong announces that she is coming into the office. He tries to tell her to wait, but she walks in carrying a stack of files and folders. Somebody smell déjà vu? She informs him that she has brought some documents for his approval, and he asks her why she barged in before he even had a chance to respond. In that moment, he is suddenly reminded of that encounter 10 years ago. Our female lead approaches him and explains that she assumed he was sleeping, but the business at hand just couldn't wait. She drops the stack of folders on his desk, telling him that it's the report on the resort project. Seop picks one up to look at it and complains that our girl always makes a big deal out of something so simple. However, as he goes through it, he is genuinely impressed by how perfectly organized it is and how much easier it is to read. Despite his admiration, he refuses to give her the satisfaction of knowing how well she did. He nonchalantly tosses the file aside and tells her to work reasonably. He says that even if he works this hard, there will be nothing left and no one will acknowledge it. He concludes that the company won't fall apart just because he's not there. When he asks her if she agrees with him, she replies no. She insists that he is absolutely essential to the trading division and that there is no employee in the past 10 years who wouldn't know how hard he has worked for TK Group. She expresses her gratitude once again for having him as her executive director. Trying his best not to blush, our male lead looks away and tells Mingyeong it's all right for her to leave now. He assures her he will check the report later. Before she exits, she tells him to let her know if he has any corrections, and he replies that he will. He watches the door after her, getting lost in thought. The scene shifts to the managing director's office, where Seop seems surprised to see the executive director in his office. He asks what is going on because earlier, Seop had said he wouldn't be working. Yet since he returned, the higher-ups have been excited by the wonderful job he has been doing in his sector. Acting nonchalant as usual, our male lead tells the managing director that it wasn't his hard work, his secretary did it. Seop replies that he had thought it was a good idea to assign the female lead as Seop's secretary, and the statement angers our chaebol heir. He demands to know what excuse the managing director used to transfer her, asking if he had found some kind of weakness to use against her. He adds that Seop should know better than to think it was acceptable for that woman to be his secretary. The other man chuckles softly before asking our male lead if he hasn't figured it out by now. He mentions how he knows Seop has been digging around for the past few days and has even involved the director of public relations. Deciding to stop pretending, our chaebol heir admits he discovered that Mingyeong has twin brothers who are figure skaters from Mingye University. He states that based on their performance alone, it's questionable whether they are suitable for TK's sponsorship. Seop leans back casually, sipping from his cup, and suggests that, in his opinion, he wouldn't necessarily consider it a sponsorship based on their potential. Our male lead inquires if he is genuinely using Mingyeong's siblings as a threat to assign her as a secretary. In response, the managing director asks Seop why he escaped work by going overseas. He asserts that, at the very least, they should be competent enough to fill his role. Guess it's now obvious why the chaebol heir doesn't like this man. Moving forward, he reveals that, from what he personally discovered, Mingyeong's parents run a modest noodle restaurant, and that the twins' pursuit of sports must have posed a significant financial burden. He explains that making the offer to come directly from Songbaek-jae was the only way to put Mingyeong in a position where she could not refuse the secretary role. As expected, she is doing an excellent job as Seop's assistant, and there are no issues with her performance. He then asks Seop if he is concerned about his secretary's circumstances. In a sudden moment of realization, our male lead begins to wonder if he is indeed worried about her, and if so, why. In response to the managing director, he dismisses the idea, saying it's impossible. Yet, when he remembers her touch and the unfamiliar pleading look in her eyes that day, he begins to feel slightly uncomfortable. On a sunny and warm afternoon, Seop feels like it's the perfect time to relax and enjoy a cup of coffee on a comfortable sofa. However, his peaceful moment is suddenly cut short when he hears approaching footsteps. His eyes widen in fear. The footsteps begin to get louder as they get closer, and this time around he begins to panic fully. Mingyeong throws the door open and animatedly calls out to our male lead, asking him if he enjoyed his break. He clutches his chest in complete dismay as he looks at her like she's a monster. She tells him it's time to go so they can start with the afternoon schedule briefing. As she begins talking non-stop, Seop realizes that he cannot survive this encounter, and he decides to escape. Smart move. In the next scene, we see him complaining bitterly to assistant Kim Ki. He talks about how his life has turned into a thriller, and his heart pounds like crazy every time he hears footsteps approaching. Because each time, it's Mingyeong coming to ruthlessly bombard him with office work. He laments that there's no way for her to stay still for even a second. He is the boss, so why does he have to be the nervous one all the time? However, Kim-ki has the brightest smile on his face as he replies that it is expected of manager Kang because she is always full of passion. Disappointed, our male lead falls back in his seat and slumps down in defeat. He says he can't believe that the only place where he gets to relax is in his car. It's quite important to note that they have been driving around town in circles for the third time in a row. Suddenly, the car's stereo announces a call from Mingyeong. "Speak of the devil and he shall appear." Seop hurriedly begs Kim-ki not to pick up, but his assistant excitedly presses the answer button. With a wide smile on his face, he asks Mingyeong what the matter is. Our male lead leans forward and whispers to his assistant not to tell her that he is here. However, she replies that she can hear him clearly, and as far as she is concerned, he doesn't have any schedule that requires him to be outside. He tries to come up with an excuse, saying that there was definitely something for him to do outside. In an intimidating tone, Mingyeong asks him if he really believes that there is something she wouldn't know about. She reminds him that there is a lot of work for him to do and asks him to please return quickly. Feeling fed up and equally terrified, he tells her that he cannot return and that he is currently busy. As usual, Mingyeong has that smile on her face as she agrees and informs him that she will be waiting for him until he gets back. Hours later, we see her in her apartment after relating the entire situation to her roommate. She says she had waited well past her work hours, and she slumps forward in exhaustion. Seop pats her on the shoulder, trying to comfort her. The doorbell rings, and she goes to answer it. It turns out that Oppa is back, and they are both excited to see him. Mingyeong asks him if he came immediately after work, and he says he did because he couldn't wait. Seop guesses that he couldn't wait to eat the meals cooked by their friend's mom, and he confirms her guess, saying that he couldn't miss the opportunity. There's an assortment of dishes prepared by Mingyeong's mother, all set out on the table. She tells Oppa that her mother always sends enough for him, so he should please enjoy it. He thanks her, and his food gets wrapped and packaged in a lunchbox for him to take away. It turns out that he, like Mingyeong, is very busy. Seop tells them not to overwork themselves, and suddenly Oppa asks her about her blind date that is planned for tomorrow. In a moment, she goes from confident to looking like a mouse trapped in a corner. She nervously asks him how he knows about it. He says that her date is the son of the director of J Hospital, the one that they went to see, and he's also an elementary school classmate. The information completely surprises her, and she tries to make Oppa slow down so she can process the information. He proceeds to say that his elementary school classmate had messaged him about 3 days ago, and that's how he found out about the date. After contacting Sia and getting a really blunt reply, he decided to come to Oppa for advice to know if he had done anything wrong. Sia replies by laughing nervously and admits that she did, in fact, reply bluntly. She asks if her potential date had said anything else. Oppa replies that his friend had just asked about the things she likes, and he told him M Hotel French restaurant. She prods him for more information, and he says there's nothing special. He just told his friend that she's a cute and stylish type. All along, Mingyeong has been sitting in the corner, getting angrier and angrier with each statement. She thinks to herself, cute? Stylish? Sia takes the cue and hurriedly ushers Oppa out of the house, with Mingyeong giving a forced laugh as she waves goodbye. He seems confused by both their behaviors as he's being pushed out of the house. However, he manages to tell our female lead to thank her mother for the food. The moment the door clicks shut, she turns around to Sia and asks what she should do now, and her friend smiles nervously, telling her to calm down. Let's backpedal to 3 days ago. The scene is set outdoors, and both women are together. Sia is telling our girl to just go ahead and have a meal. It's an expensive place called M Hotel. However, Mingyeong points out that French cuisine is her friend's favorite, not hers, and Sia insists the atmosphere is mostly nice. However, our female lead doesn't seem very convinced. She says, what is there to do on a blind date with someone she doesn't even know? Trusts Sia to hit her with the puppy eyes just then. She begs Mingyeong to help out just this once, because it's the last concert of her favorite idol group before they go into the military. If she misses it this time, there's no guarantee she would see a full group concert again. She says she worked really hard to get those tickets and promises that if Mingyeong helps her out just once, she won't ask her to do any house chores for the next 6 months. She promises to cook, do all the dishes, and clean during those months. Our female lead says that there's no need for her friend to do that. She says since it's just 1 hour, she would help out. And that is what led to the mini-crisis we're currently experiencing. First of all, stylish and cute Sia is an 8-year veteran fashion magazine editor. And our female lead, on the other hand, doesn't know a thing about fashion. Should we call her a fashion destroyer? She asks how she's supposed to pretend to be her stylish friend, and Sia puts a hand on her shoulder. She tells her that there's nothing to worry about because she's a fashion expert. She says she's putting her honor on the line to make her friend into a perfect replica of herself. Then, on second thought, she says she'll turn our female lead into a brand new Kang Min-kyung. Today is the day for the dinner appointment with the director's son from J Hospital, and Sia seems to be extremely excited about it. You can't really blame her, can you? After all, she's going to watch some hot idols perform at a concert. She asks Mingyeong if she's ready, and after receiving a positive response, she grabs her and pulls her along so they can go change. In the next scene, we see that Sia has set up a camera and is recording. She introduces herself first, then announces that she has a special guest today. Afterwards, she prompts Mingyeong to say hi. However, our female lead just stares back at the camera blankly. She asks Sia what she's doing, and in reply, the excited young woman says she's pretending to be a makeup vlogger. Finally, she decides to get started with the makeup. She keeps the camera rolling and introduces the first makeup product, listing all the relevant and mostly irrelevant details about it. She starts with skincare, and as she begins to apply, she comments that Mingyeong's skin is really nice. Our girl gets fed up with all the drama, but Sia doesn't give up easily. She happily explains that she's cosplaying as a makeup vlogger. After a while of doing this and that, the makeup is completed. Finally, Mingyeong goes to the mirror to check her appearance, and she becomes momentarily speechless. In disbelief, she asks if she's really the one in the mirror. Sia tells her it's too early to be amazed because they still have one more thing to do: choosing outfits. Later that evening, the scene is set at M Hotel, and several guests arrive for different purposes. However, this particular guest who has just arrived is someone we know very well. He tells his assistant that it's been a while since he had a personal schedule. In reply, the assistant says that the elementary school alumni reunion must be great, and he hopes Iseop enjoys his time. Our male lead says he will enjoy the weekend and thanks his assistant. Immediately, he receives a text on his phone asking if he has arrived and instructing him to come straight to the lounge bar. He looks around for the place in question, and coincidentally, the lady behind him turns out to be Mingyeong. However, they don't see each other and head in directly opposite directions. At the restaurant section, our female lead thinks to herself that she has never been to a place like this before and hopes she is not late. During the date, the hospital director's son, Jong-woo, says he had expected her to be small since he heard she is the cute type. However, he comments that she is quite tall and very beautiful. Our female lead replies that she is flattered, and honestly, she looks so good, astonishing, and breathtaking are understatements. Jong-woo asks her if she likes the food, and she says she does. In her mind, she thinks about how uncomfortable she is and feels like the food will start coming out of her nose. She remembers that Sia had said it would only be for an hour, so she reminds herself that she just needs to hold on for 10 more minutes. Just then, her date calls out to her and asks if it would be all right to suggest going to the rooftop lounge bar of the hotel. He says the lounge bar is famous for its Seoul night cocktail, and they say the taste of the cocktails accompanied by the views of the night sky is fantastic. Mingyeong apologizes, saying she has to go to work tomorrow. When she leaves to take a bathroom break, she sighs in relief because it's finally over. She rearranges her hair as she realizes that it's been a while since she has done makeup, so it was quite uncomfortable during the date. Her eyes also feel heavy because of the contact lenses, and she decides she will take them off. Just then, she receives a message from Sia. It's a gift card, and she wonders what she should do with it. One night at the hotel with cocktails. Non-refundable, she thinks to herself, unsure since she has to work tomorrow. But the view inside the hotel is breathtaking and beautiful. Since she has been struggling these last few months, she wonders when she would have the opportunity to relax in a place like this again. On top of that, it's been a while since she dressed up, so she decides she would enjoy this night as a different kind of Mingyeong. At the lounge bar, Seop is surrounded by acquaintances. One of them asks him if he's seeing someone, and the question throws him off completely. He asks why they are talking about that all of a sudden. The man replies that it might be a while until they see each other again, and another person jumps in to support his claim. He asks Seop how long he plans on staying single. Another acquaintance joins the conversation, asking him if there's someone on his mind, and suddenly our male lead feels trapped. The questions keep pouring in, throwing him off completely. One person asks if there's anyone, maybe the daughter of a wealthy family. Frustrated, Seop asks why they are all so interested in his life. In reply, one man says, "What could be more interesting than the love life of a third-generation chaebol?" They all burst into laughter at the rhetorical question, and then someone suggests a toast, wishing for Seop to escape his life of bachelorhood. They open champagne and everyone cheers to Seop's love life. Inwardly, he thinks to himself that they are too excited, as each person either wishes for him to get married or get into a relationship soon. As he takes another drink, he hears approaching footsteps and his eyes widen in shock. In that same moment, Kang Min-kyung walks in. Seop recognizes the footsteps immediately, but he finds it hard to believe that the person across the room is his new secretary. Poor thing, he's definitely been traumatized. He thinks he must be crazy to consider that she would be in this type of place. He decides to text her to be early to work on Monday morning. The woman across from him picks up her phone, and he catches sight of an odd sticker on the back of it. A few days earlier, he remembers complaining to Kim Ki about the weird octopus, or was it onion, sticker. He realizes there's no one else but Min-kyung who would wear something that strange here. His phone pings in his pocket, and it's a reply from Assistant Kang. He notices that he received a reply as soon as the woman across used her phone. There's no doubt that she's his new secretary. But, gosh, that woman across is really beautiful. One of Seop's old schoolmates notices that he is distracted and asks him why. He tries to act clueless, but the other man hits the nail on the head, saying he caught Seop staring at that woman across the way for a while. He adds that she gives off the vibes of a model, then proceeds to ask if she's Seop's type. He stresses how long our male lead has been staring at the woman, jokingly asking if this could be love at first sight. Our guy quickly tells his companion to lower his voice because he's too loud. He explains that the woman just looks like someone he knows. At the famous Across, Min-kyung is going through the menu and trying to make a decision. She recalls Jong-woo praising the Seoul Night cocktail, and since she's curious, she decides to try it. Her order arrives, and she resolves to take just one drink. Since she'd spend the night in the hotel regardless because of the gift card, she decides to enjoy this moment to the max. Soft music plays from a piano in the corner as our female lead sips contentedly from her glass, watching the view from the windows. She catches sight of her reflection and thinks to herself that she looks really pretty today. A male voice announces the presence of a newcomer, Jong-woo, who claims he came to get a drink for himself. And so, they meet again. In her mind, Min-kyung realizes she's in trouble. It's quite problematic because she just had a drink, and her limit is one drink. He asks her if she ordered the Seoul Night, and she confirms that she did. She desperately searches for a means of escape, but the man seems oblivious as he takes a seat and starts chattering away. Seop watches from his corner, wondering who Mingyeong's companion is. Around him, old schoolmates prepare to leave for the night because tomorrow is a work day. However, our male lead has his eyes elsewhere. After a while, he decides that the strange man cannot be her boyfriend. Back at the famous Across, Jong-woo is ordering cocktails. He makes his request with consideration for Sia's taste, the real one who's away at a concert anyway. When the drinks arrive, he asks our fake Sia to have some because he has been looking forward to buying her drinks. He confesses that he has read all the columns she has written, where she described herself as a cocktail enthusiast who gulps down at least 3 glasses whenever she's at a bar. Our fake suddenly remembers how the real one is a party-goer. Oops. To keep up appearances, she decides to drink and leave quickly. Throughout, Jong-woo goes on speaking about the origin of cocktails and all that nonsense. Mingyeong realizes that he has been reading because of the date, and she chugs down her glasses so she can escape as quickly as possible. Definitely a code red. His phone rings and he moves away to answer it. Turns out it's Hyun-sung Oppa. He confirms that Sia is with him, well, the fake one, and he asks Oppa if he's calling because he's worried about his little sister, then laughs heartily at the thought. They continue their conversation, and Mingyeong listens. From the little she catches, she knows that Oppa is on his way, and her cover would be blown. She decides to leave before he gets there. Jong-woo returns to the table and apologizes for taking so long on the phone and leaving her alone. She tells him it's okay. He notices there's only 1 drink left, so he advises her to savor it slowly. She doesn't listen and gulps it down in one go. Her companion is impressed and compliments her for knowing how to drink. On the other hand, Mingyeong's eyes are getting blurry and she's beginning to feel dizzy. Jong-woo notices and asks her if she's okay, but she gets up and says she needs to go. He informs her that Oppa is on his way to pick her up and pleads with her to sit down for a while. She staggers and he hurries to stabilize her, asking if she's okay. Her words slur together as she replies that she's okay and urges him to go ahead first. She desperately thinks of a way to get to her hotel room, but her companion is worried because she seems intoxicated. He tells her it might be good to sit down and take a break for a moment. He urges her to wait just a moment to calm down, but she insists that he goes first. A male voice interrupts them, asking why Jong-woo is trying to force our female lead to stay with him. It's Seop to the rescue. Ugh. Her companion quickly tries to explain that it's all a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Mingyeong has heard the additional voice and it seems oddly familiar. She wonders who it is. Suddenly, she feels suffocated and nauseous, so she tugs at her collar. On his part, Seop begins to take off his coat as he argues with the other man. He claims he saw everything and that Jong-woo forced our female lead to sit with him and made her drink. He then asks if perhaps there was an ulterior motive. The other man swears that he's not a pervert and searches for his business card to prove his point. Mingyeong, on the other hand, staggers to the left, directly into the arms of her hero. She decides to look up at him, and boy, is she in for a surprise. Enjoying this story so far? Comment Seop for part 2. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, ciao!